Long ago, deep in the heart of the African wilderness, there was a village called Oluwoko. It was not an ordinary place. Hidden between tall mountains and surrounded by thick, ancient forests, Oluwoko was a peaceful and sacred village that very few outsiders ever found. The land was fertile, the people were kind, and the seasons were gentle. But there was something strange about the village, something very old and very quiet. At the center of Oluwoko stood a giant Iroko tree, taller than any other tree in the land. Its branches touched the clouds, and its roots ran deep into the earth. The elders said the tree was a spirit guardian, older than the village itself. Every evening, just before the sun dipped behind the mountains, the elders would gather under the tree. They poured libations, offered kola nuts, and whispered prayers to the spirits of the land. Afterward, they would ring the midnight bell, a sacred bell hidden inside the Iroko tree. The bell was not for people. It was a reminder to the spirits that the villagers still remembered their promises. This was the way of Oluwoko. It had been so for many generations. Until one day, something changed. It was during the Harmattan season. The air was dry, and the wind carried dust from faraway lands. On this particular afternoon, a stranger arrived. He was unlike anyone the villagers had ever seen. He wore a long black cloak, walked with a limp, and had very pale skin. His eyes were dark, too dark. Nobody saw him coming. One moment the road was empty. The next, he was standing at the village gate. A young boy ran to fetch the elders. Elder Ifideo, the oldest and wisest man in the village, stepped forward. He studied the stranger closely. "Who are you, traveler?" he asked. "What brings you to our hidden home?" The stranger smiled, but it was a cold smile. "I have no name," he said. "Names are for those who stay. I only pass through." The villagers looked at one another. A man without a name. That was unusual. But tradition said guests must be welcomed and treated with kindness, no matter who they were. So they gave him food, water, and a place to rest. Still, something felt off. That night, the animals refused to sleep. The dogs would not bark. The fire would crackle strangely, and the shadows in the hut seemed to move on their own. But no one spoke of it. At midnight, Elder Ifideo and the other elders went to ring the bell, as they always did. But as they approached the Iroko tree, a strange wind began to blow through the village. It wasn't the usual Harmattan wind. This wind carried whispers, low, breathy words in a language no one recognized. Some said it came from the forest. Others said it came from the mountain. Whatever it was, it made the villagers uneasy. The next morning, the stream had stopped flowing. Birds were silent. The goats would not eat. The Iroko tree's leaves had turned gray. People began to whisper, "Something is wrong." But the stranger was nowhere to be found. Elder Ifadeo grew suspicious. That night, he visited the shrine of the ancestors. He lit a sacred candle and offered kola nuts. He bowed before the spirits and asked, "Who is this man with no name? Why does the land cry since he came?" The flame flickered violently. The kola nut split open. A wind blew across the shrine, and a voice whispered, "He is the child of Edeka." Long ago, before Oluwoko ever existed, there was a village called Edeka. It was a powerful place, full of proud people who believed they could control everything, even the spirits. The priest of Edeka built a secret shrine deep in the forest. There, they performed forbidden rituals, calling upon dark forces to gain power and riches. They sacrificed innocent lives. They broke the sacred balance of nature. But the spirits grew angry. One night, the ground opened up and swallowed the village of Edeka. The trees caught fire. The rivers turned to dust. The only thing left was the Iroko tree. It stood as a warning, marking the place where evil had been destroyed. Generations later, the people of Oluwoko came. They rebuilt the land and made a pact with the spirits. We will not speak of Edeka. We will respect the balance. We will ring the bell each night to honor what was lost. That pact kept the village safe. But now, a child of Edeka had returned, one whose blood carried the curse of the ancient priest. By stepping into Oluwoko and being welcomed, the stranger had broken the sacred agreement. The protection was gone. Elder Ifedeo called an emergency gathering under the grey-leaved Iroko tree. He told the villagers everything about Edeka, the stranger, and the broken pact. Many were shocked. But how could we know? Some asked. He said nothing, others said. Surely the spirits will forgive us, another said. But Ifedeo shook his head. We were warned to always be careful. That is why we ring the bell. That is why we never speak the name of Edeka. We forgot. He begged the villagers to leave before nightfall. Some agreed, Kolechi, a brave young hunter, Nena, a pregnant woman whose dreams had been filled with fire, and a few others. They packed quickly and followed Elder Ifedeo into the forest. The rest stayed. That night, the village was quiet. Too quiet. Then the ground began to tremble. The sky turned red. A loud, unnatural bell rang out, not from the Iroko tree, but from beneath the earth. The villagers ran outside in terror. The wind howled with voices. Shadows moved like living things. The air grew thick with smoke. Then, the stranger returned. He stood at the center of the village, floating in the air. His cloak blew in the wind, his eyes glowing white. You took our land, he said. You silenced our name. But now, Edeka rises again. He raised his hands. The Iroko tree split in two, and black smoke poured from its heart. The earth opened. And Oluwoko was swallowed. At dawn, Elder Ifedeo and the others woke up in a clearing in the forest. Birds were singing again. The wind was calm. They walked to the edge of a hill and looked down at the valley where Oluwoko had stood. There was nothing. No tree. No huts. No smoke. Just empty ground, dry and cracked. Kolechi dropped to his knees. It's gone, he whispered. All of it. Elder Ifedeo closed his eyes. The spirits kept their word. We broke ours. He turned to the small group of survivors. We will build again. Far away. We will never speak of this land again. And we will teach our children, never welcome a stranger without a story. Never forget the past. They left the valley and were never seen there again.